And I think what was good was I was bilingual, meaning I spoke two languages.
Well, I mean, Mustangs, prior enlisted officers have fucking tremendous amount of respect in the enlisted man's eyes.
Yeah. So since I was bilingual and I could speak two languages, and I had to learn the officer language, but I was fluent in E-Dog language. I mean, I was completely fluent. I was E-Dog Mafia. If you go to talk to anybody that was at SEAL Team 1 in between 1991 and 1998, I was a made man in the SEAL Team 1 E5 Mafia, 100%. There's no one that would ever deny that. And so I spoke fluent E5 Mafia language. And then as I started to learn the officer language, what I think I was able to do was translate what was happening with the officers to the E-Dogs, which I think a lot of times gets missed, to this day gets missed, because it really is two different perspectives that are happening. And there's a lot of things that happen at the officer level that don't ever get told to the E-Dogs. And that does create frustration and angst amongst the troops because they don't understand what the hell is going on. And when that happens, man, they get pissed. And I got pissed. When I was an E-Dog and we weren't being told what was happening, we're freaking pissed. I tell this one story where we were on the ship. This is my third platoon. And we got told, hey, you guys are going to launch your Zodiacs off the ship. We go, cool. So we drag all the stuff upstairs. It takes an hour and a half. Got to bring the fuel up, which means you got to notify the fire party and they got to set up all their stuff so you can bring the fuel up to the top deck so you can launch the boats inside the ribs. And 2 or 3 hours into this, they're like, actually, you're going to launch off of the well deck. Oh, bring everything back downstairs. Another 2 or 3 hours. Later, they say, oh, you're going to use helicopters. Now we got to break all that. So we're getting whipped around the whole time. And this is, by the way, someone just saying, oh, why don't they use the helicopters? Oh, okay, cool. I'll tell them. And they think it's just like this, but it's not. So I always remembered what it was like. I also always remember, when I was in STT, SEAL Tactical Training, we had to walk in every position in the platoon. So sometimes you'd be point man, sometimes you'd be the PL, sometimes you'd be the radio man, sometimes you'd be a machine gunner. And I remember, luckily or unluckily for me, we did a long patrol and I was rear security. And I had no idea where we were. I had no idea where we were going. I had no idea where we were going to stop again. If we got contacted, I might as well have just started running around like a chicken with my head cut off because I didn't know where the rally ports were. I didn't even know where the target was. And I hated that feeling. And I always said to myself, I am going to make sure that I keep the guys informed of what is happening. That is so important. It gets dropped all the time because you get focused on like, well, hold on, how much longer to the next? This is the platoon commander talking. He's only talking to the point man. And so now when he stops talking to the rest of the platoon, they lose track of what's happening and it's just a cluster. And so even as an enlisted guy, I realized that you have to make a concerted effort to explain to the guys what is happening. And if you fail to do that, they'll have no idea and you won't know that they don't know. And that's a disaster. So now when you move me up into this officer position, now I'm saying, oh yeah, I bet the platoon has no idea why they're having the helos move to this position or why they're being told they have to stand down from this operation, or because they don't. They don't get told, oh, the charge d'affaires in this country just said that we can't do it and here's the risk that they aren't willing to take. They just hear, hey, it's a cank bird. And they go, oh, so we just spent 4 hours doing this and now it's just nothing. But they don't understand why. And so it's incumbent upon the leadership to make sure that everyone in the chain of command understands not just what we're doing, but why we're doing it and why these changes happen. Because as you know, these changes happen all the time. They happen all the time. And so, yes, I think that one of the things that I had the capability of doing is I was bilingual. I talked E5 and eventually I learned how to speak officer as well. And I could also bring the problems at the E5 level to my boss and explain to them in a way that they could understand that, hey, when you tell my guys we're not allowed to explosively breach anymore, let me tell you what that means. And then they say, oh, okay, well, I didn't understand that. Thank you. Or when I get told, hey, you need to have this number of Iraqis with you, friendly Iraqi soldiers with you on every operation, I need to explain to my boss what that means on the ground. And if you have a good relationship, which I always had a good relationship with my boss. So when I would explain something to my boss would listen to me. My boss would, because I wouldn't complain about stuff. Like I wasn't going to complain. If I was going to my boss and telling them that something didn't make sense, they would listen to me because I would only say it if it was true. And so I just developed that good amount of trust with my chain of command, and it would work out well. So yes, as I got into that officer role, I started to see, oh, okay, I can understand why. Oh, if the troops would have known that it was the Commodore of the ARG that now wanted to use helicopters because it's something they have to get checked off the box before they're allowed to go on deployment. If the guys understood that, they'd be like, oh yeah, well, we got to get quals done too. And this is the quals that they got to get. Cool. Let's make it happen.